Have you ever felt like you're standing at the edge of something new? You can't fully explain it, but deep inside you sense that God is preparing a transition. A new chapter, a new opportunity, a new level of growth, a new season. Yet somehow, despite your prayers, things seem delayed. You feel stuck between where you've been and where God is calling you. And here's a possibility most people never consider. What if the delay isn't because God hasn't prepared the next season? What if God is preparing you for it? Because throughout Scripture, God repeatedly shows a pattern. Before he changes someone's season, he often changes something inside them first. A mindset, a habit, a perspective, a pattern. Why? Because the next season requires a different version of you. Isaiah 43:18 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past." Notice that. Before God begins describing the new thing he's about to do, he addresses the old thing they're still holding on to. Because many people want a new future while clinging to old patterns. And that rarely works. Today, we're uncovering 6 patterns that need to be broken before the next season. And the final one may be the reason many people remain stuck far longer than necessary. Let's begin. Number 1. The pattern of looking back. This is where Isaiah 43 begins. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. God wasn't telling his people to forget his faithfulness. He was warning them about becoming trapped by what used to be. And many believers struggle with this more than they realize. Some are trapped by past failures. Others are trapped by past successes. Some keep replaying mistakes. Others keep reliving old victories. Either way, their focus remains behind them, and you cannot fully move forward while constantly looking backward. Think about driving a car. Imagine spending most of your time staring into the rearview mirror. Eventually, you're going to miss what's ahead. The same thing happens spiritually. Many people miss new opportunities because they're obsessed with old disappointments. They miss new relationships because they're still carrying old wounds. They miss new assignments because they're comparing everything to previous seasons. Here's what most people don't realize. God rarely repeats seasons. He builds upon them. The lessons remain, the faithfulness remains, the growth remains, but the season changes. And if you're always looking behind you, you'll struggle to recognize what's appearing in front of you. Before the next season arrives, the pattern of living in the past must be broken. Number 2, the pattern of waiting for perfect conditions. This pattern quietly keeps countless people stuck. Because perfect conditions rarely exist. Many people tell themselves, "I'll obey when everything makes sense. I'll move when I'm completely ready. I'll trust when fear disappears. I'll step forward when the risk is gone." But faith doesn't operate that way. Faith moves before certainty arrives. Noah built before rain came. Abraham left before seeing the destination. Peter stepped before understanding how water could hold him. The Bible is filled with people who moved without perfect conditions. Yet many believers remain stuck waiting for circumstances to become ideal. The problem is that comfort often disguises itself as wisdom, and fear often disguises itself as caution. Years pass, opportunities pass, seasons pass, not because God wasn't opening doors, because people were waiting for guarantees. Here's the truth. The next season often begins on the other side of uncertainty. And until the pattern of waiting for perfect conditions is broken, many opportunities remain untouched. God rarely reveals the entire staircase. He usually reveals the next step. Number 3, the pattern of carrying old offenses. This pattern is heavier than most people realize, because resentment has a way of attaching itself to every area of life. Many people enter new seasons carrying old wounds, old betrayals, old disappointments, old bitterness, old anger. And without realizing it, they allow yesterday's pain to influence today's decisions. Here's what makes this dangerous. Unforgiveness doesn't only affect the past. It affects the future. It clouds judgment, distorts perspective, weakens trust, reduces peace, consumes energy. The enemy loves this pattern because it keeps people emotionally tied to seasons God is trying to move them beyond. Think about Joseph. He experienced betrayal most people could never imagine. His brothers sold him, abandoned him, destroyed his future as he knew it. Yet, when promotion finally arrived, Joseph refused to carry bitterness into the next season. Had he remained offended, he may never have fulfilled his purpose. Many believers want God's next season, but they're still carrying emotional baggage from the last one. And before God can fill your hands with something new, he often asks you to release what no longer belongs there. The next season requires freedom, not just externally, internally. Number 4, the pattern of small thinking. This pattern trapped an entire generation in the wilderness. God promised Israel a land overflowing with opportunity. The promise was real. The provision was real. The future was real. Yet most of them never entered it. Why? Because their thinking remained smaller than God's vision. They saw giants. God saw victory. They saw obstacles. God saw opportunity. They saw impossibility. God saw potential. The problem wasn't the land. The problem was perspective. And the same thing happens today. Many believers pray for bigger opportunities while maintaining smaller thinking. They pray for growth while expecting failure. Pray for breakthrough while anticipating disappointment. Pray for new seasons while constantly speaking limitations. Here's what most people miss. You cannot consistently move toward a future you don't believe is possible. Your expectations shape your actions. Your actions shape your results. And eventually, your results reinforce your expectations. That's why small thinking becomes a trap. It creates invisible ceilings, limits possibilities, restricts faith, and prevents people from recognizing what God is capable of doing. Before entering the next season, the pattern of small thinking must be broken, because God often prepares opportunities larger than our comfort zones. Number 5. The pattern of prioritizing comfort over growth. This may be one of the greatest obstacles to transformation, because comfort feels safe, predictable, familiar, manageable. Growth feels different, uncertain, challenging, stretching, uncomfortable, and given the choice, most people naturally choose comfort. That's why so many people stay in situations long after God is calling them forward. Not because they love where they are, because they're afraid of where growth might lead. The Israelites repeatedly wanted to return to Egypt, not because slavery was good, because it was familiar. The unknown felt scarier than the known, and that's exactly how comfort traps people. It convinces them that staying the same is safer than becoming different. But every major transformation in Scripture required leaving comfort behind. Abraham left familiarity. Moses left security. The disciples left certainty. Paul left status. Jesus left heaven itself. Growth always requires movement. And movement always requires discomfort. The next season may demand new disciplines, new responsibilities, new challenges, new levels of trust. And if comfort remains the highest priority, growth will always feel threatening. Before God can lead you forward, the pattern of choosing comfort over growth must be broken. Number 6, the pattern of resisting change. This is perhaps the most dangerous pattern of all, because it sits beneath many of the others. People often pray for change, but secretly resist it. They want different results, without different habits, different outcomes, without different decisions, different seasons, without becoming different people. But that's not how transformation works. God frequently changes people before he changes circumstances, because sustainable breakthrough begins internally. Think about every major biblical transformation. Moses had to change. Peter had to change. Jacob had to change. Paul had to change. The disciples had to change. The next season required a new version of themselves. And the same remains true today. Many believers want God to change their environment, while resisting his attempts to change them. Yet God knows something important. The person who enters the next season must be able to sustain it. That's why preparation matters. That's why growth matters. That's why transformation matters. The greatest obstacle to your future may not be external resistance. It may be internal resistance. Resistance to learning. Resistance to correction. Resistance to growth. Resistance to becoming who God is calling you to be. And until that pattern is broken, new seasons often remain delayed, not because God is unwilling, because preparation is incomplete. So let's return to Isaiah 43:18. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Why would God begin there? Because new seasons require release. Release of old thinking, old wounds, old fears, old limitations, old patterns. Many people are asking God for something new, and God is asking them to let go of something old. That's often how transformation begins. Not by receiving, by releasing. Maybe you've been looking backward too often. Maybe you've been waiting for perfect conditions. Maybe you've been carrying old offenses. Maybe small thinking has limited your faith. Maybe comfort has become a priority. Maybe change itself has become something you resist. If so, don't be discouraged. Awareness is the beginning of breakthrough, because you cannot break a pattern you refuse to recognize. But once you see it, everything can change. And here's the good news. God never exposes a pattern without offering the grace to break it. He never calls you into a new season without preparing you for it. And he never asks you to leave something behind unless he has something greater ahead. The season you've been praying for may be closer than you think. The opportunity may already be forming. The breakthrough may already be developing. The new thing God promised may already be springing up. But first, some patterns must be broken. Some habits must end. Some mindsets must change. Some weights must be released. Because the next season cannot always fit inside the old version of you. If this message spoke to you, type "I'm ready for the new season" in the comments below. Not because you've already arrived, but because you've decided to let go of what no longer belongs in your future. And remember this: the new season God has prepared often begins the moment you release the patterns that belong to the old one.